going to go ahead and get Tom Klingenstein from the from AmericaIsGood.us. We're going to talk about what he says is the true question in the election this year. And I agree. I've talked about this before. I think I know I've written about it before, but I certainly know that this is what I have said a number of times, that this election isn't just about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, about the policies and that sort of thing. It's deeper than that, and it's more meaningful than that. Mr. Klingenstein, this is Ed Morrissey, and we are on the line. And how are you today, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I am doing well. And Tom Klingenstein is the chair of the Claremont Institute, as well as the man behind AmericaIsGood.us. And Tom, it's really great to have you with us today. Just to let you know, you're not going to be able to see my video because of the way that this works. I have to port the video back out to the podcast. But we're seeing you, and you're looking great.
Good.
I have said all along that this was going to be a question of visions of two very different visions of America. And at AmericaIsGood.us, I think you put it together much better than I did. First off, let me just say that. So why don't you tell our audience how you see the big question for voters in this last 4 days?
You know, I think it's very simple, really. The way I framed it is, it's a choice between a man, Trump, who thinks America is good, and a man, Biden, who's controlled by a party that thinks America is bad. And really, there's nothing else to know, I don't think. And if you believe that, and that requires a little bit of explanation about what I mean, but if you believe that the other side thinks America is bad and wants to destroy it, then the only thing that matters is that Trump is on the right side trying to save it. And his personality, his character, no matter what you think about Trump, I think it's irrelevant at this moment. The analogy I would use perhaps is General Grant in the Civil War, who was accused was crude and coarse and perhaps a drunkard. But he had the one thing that was absolutely essential, and that was a willingness to fight, and nobody else would at a moment when the country was in peril. And that's where I think we are now. Trump, the country is being assailed by the radical wing of the Democratic Party, which now controls the whole party. And Trump is willing to stand up to that wing of the party in BLM. So again, personality, character, put it aside.
So, I mean, and I think you're right about this. I mean, I think that, and I've been saying this for a while, that this is really a difference between two fundamentally different visions. Is America a fundamentally good place that just needs more work, as it always does, because nothing is ever perfect? Or is America a fundamentally bad place that requires us to tear down the institutions and start over from scratch? And I know you've written about this, and this is the reason why I'm going to bring this up. The National Association of Scholars actually has your essay on this. The 1619 Project, to me, is the clarion call of that second vision of what the alternate argument is in this election. That America is a fundamentally bad place. It didn't start in 1776. The principles of 1776 aren't what animates it. It's the principles of 1619, when that first slave ship arrived. That's what animates America, and that's the reason why we need to tear it all down and start over from scratch. And I think that this is, I don't think it's a coincidence that the New York Times ran this about a year before this national election.
No, I don't think it's an accident either. I think that they weren't able to get him on Russiagate, and this was another attempt. But I think, you're absolutely right that when we think about the left, and this is the BLM left, right? This is the left that now controls the Democratic Party. If they're trying to destroy the American way of life, how do they go about it? Well, one thing they have to do is destroy our history. They have to understand, they have to destroy how we think about ourselves. Are we a people whose history has primarily been one of oppressing others? That's the 1619 version.
Right.
Or is our history one of forever striving, however haltingly, however imperfectly, towards our noble ideals. Well, if you want to destroy America, you have to destroy that understanding of the past. You have to destroy the founding. You have to destroy our best explainer of the founding, and that's Abraham Lincoln. You have to destroy Frederick Douglass, because he understood America as Lincoln did. So, when they take down the statues of people like Frederick Douglass, that's not an accident. That's not collateral damage. That's part of a very thought-out plan to destroy America and its heroes. So 1619 is a piece of this, and there are other pieces.
Well, I think you can go back quite a long ways on the other pieces. You've got, Howard Zinn and the alternative histories of America. I'm not going to argue for a moment that our history is immaculate by any stretch of the imagination. There's all sorts of different things that we've done wrong that we've had to go back and fix, and that we're still striving to do better. But I think I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
Absolutely. But there's a choice to be made, a very fundamental choice, and that is, did we start in 1776 built around a principle of human equality, or did we start in 1619 built around slavery? That's an either-or proposition. And in one sense, that's one way of looking at this election. Do you think America started in 1619 or 1776?
Right.
That's not a question you compromise. That's an either-or kind of question.
It's interesting that you mentioned that it's not a thing you compromise, because the people who are positing that question have compromised on it, right? The New York Times went back and stealth edited it because they got so much flack from historians across the political spectrum. It sounds amazing to me, Tom, to say this, but the World Socialist website did so much of the heavy lifting on absolutely demolishing this argument that America was built on the principles of 1619 that I almost felt ashamed that the rest of us hadn't jumped on it even quicker by going to the historians on this. They stealth edited the piece to remove that particular claim. The woman who was sort of the driving force behind that and who had publicly made that claim suddenly turned on a dime and claimed that she'd never made that. She went back and stealth edited her Twitter feed and some of the other stuff that she had done as well. I am not sure people understand how damaging that is in terms of media norms, in terms of basic history, historian type of, I'm trying to think of the right word, academic structure, I guess, scholarship, how damaging that is in terms of scholarship. And I think it really exposes the fact that there's no real scholarship behind this. This is simply blunt force advocacy with very little foundation in scholarship or history.
Yeah, I have so little patience with this. It's fraudulent. It is so patently thin that in any kind of regular time it would have been dismissed out of hand. This just isn't serious. And this isn't serious journalism. In fact, developing curricula for our schools, that's not the role of journalism, right? This isn't what the New York Times is supposed to be doing. So the whole thing is absurd. And yes, they stealth edited and they did all that other stuff because they're basically corrupt. But, I want to throw the whole thing out. It's just not a good starting point.
Right.
And partly because, as you said, I think before, it wasn't aimed at improving America. It was aimed at remaking America. And I think that's what the American people have to understand.